Hello and welcome back to the El Dorado Hills Insider. Today we're going to have a special show all about the El Dorado County Civil Grand Jury. This is a bit of a Civics 101 lesson about how the grand jury works, how it's a citizen-led organization, and what we do to provide oversight to county government operations. And this is a very important episode because as we release this for the next 2 weeks or so until about May 3rd, there is a window of opportunity for people to apply to be on the civil grand jury for the next term starting in July. So we'll talk a bit about that. But even if you're not interested or don't have the time or the commitment to join the grand jury, it's still an extremely important institution here in the county. It's got very powerful capabilities to provide oversight. It's got a lot of resources to do investigations of our local government operations. And it's important to know about how to interface and learn from the efforts of the grand jury. So we're going to be going through that. This presentation is designed to inform people about what the civil grand jury is all about and what you can do to join. So the purpose of the civil grand jury, very different from a criminal grand jury, which more people are familiar with, where you indict citizens. The civil grand jury actually takes a look at government operations from the county government to city governments to special districts and so on. And it acts as a public watchdog with the goal to hold the government accountable, make sure they're adhering to their published policies and procedures, making sure that they're running as efficient as possible, and they make recommendations about how to improve the county government as a whole. It's important for the citizens of the county to step up, participate, learn about the county operations, and provide this service. It really was designed from the very start to be the citizen component of local government. So we're asking for and encouraging people understand what the civil grand jury is capable of doing, how it works, and why it's important for people that are available to participate. The county civil grand jury is chartered in the California Constitution. We are essentially the only state that operates a grand jury with public oversight to local government in this manner. It was started as soon as the California became a state. The first grand jury was impaneled about 170 years ago. It's evolved since then to be a much more complex and robust organization. But the concept of the state providing the community with this kind of investigative power and ability to investigate government enshrined in the Constitution gives the civil grand jury a great deal of power. And it's important for us to take advantage of that opportunity. We are administered under the El Dorado Superior Court. One of the judges is selected each year to preside over the grand jury and provide some administrative support. Basically, the grand jury gets to select what it's going to investigate, what its priorities will be, and how it's going to operate for that year. It's completely citizen-led, other than having this very important oversight relationship from the Superior Court. The presiding judge will select a foreperson of the grand jury and then randomly draw the rest of the jurors from the pool of applicants that qualify, and then they are impaneled starting on July 1st. The rules and laws that cover the grand jury and how it needs to act and what its obligations are is all stated in the California Penal Code. It's a great opportunity to learn about how government works. It's a great opportunity to make some great friendships with like-minded people across the county, and do a great service for the community if you've got the time and availability to contribute. So who can be a grand juror? Really, there are very few mandatory requirements. You just have to be a citizen of the United States, a resident of the county for a year. You have to be at least 18 years old and proficient in English. I would say these days it's important to be able to know how to use computers, know how to use word processing and respond to email. A lot of stuff is done online now. So those are important skills. There's also soft skills of working together as a team, being able to have unbiased research into certain areas. Don't come in with an axe to grind. But other than that, anybody can apply and randomly be selected to participate in this great civic opportunity. There's really one mandatory meeting every week for about 2 or 3 hours, and that's regularly scheduled. Otherwise, a lot of the work is done at your schedule. If you want to be involved in certain investigations and subcommittees, you can choose to participate, or you can do research at home in the evening. We generally say it takes about 10 to 12 hours um, per week, with that scattered on a schedule that you can decide. It's a great opportunity for stay-at-home moms, for retirees, even for students that can fit something like this into their schedule. The term is a 1-year commitment. Obviously, a lot of people do drop out during the year if they've got health reasons or other needs that come up. But the intention is that you're making a year commitment and spending these 8 to 12 to 15 hours per week, depending on your level of involvement. It's paid a volunteer position, although they do cover expenses, including mileage and $15 a day. So grand jurors can make a couple $100 of extra money, but it's definitely not a lucrative position. And there is a great deal of support. So you're not walking in cold. There is a statewide organization called the California Grand Jurors Association that comes in and does a couple of days of training. The county provides a room, they provide laptops and computers, they give you the software that you need. Their county council provides all the legal support. El Dorado County Grand Jury is very well resourced for a rural county. So how are topics selected? In the course of a year, the grand jury may select somewhere between 5 and a dozen investigations to go do a deeper dive into. They may decide to write reports on any of those investigations if it's warranted. But the investigations could be selected by the grand jury themselves. It could be based on discussions that they're finding in the news or social media, or they may come in from complaints from the community. The grand jury will prioritize which ones will have the most impact, which ones should be research further and then have a deep dive into. Everything is done within the grand jury under complete secrecy and confidentiality. We hear from a lot of whistleblowers about what's really going on inside county government. A lot of the complaints are coming directly from citizens that don't want to be exposed as to being the party that complained. Anything that we receive or learn is held in strict confidentiality and never divulge. So even if you're not on the grand jury, but you're called into the grand jury, or you feel that you want to provide insight into your local government that you've seen and want to file a complaint, it's really important to understand that this is all done extremely secretly and with great confidence, and any disclosure of any grand jury investigation or topic and any details thereof before a report comes out is a misdemeanor. And we take that very seriously. And how impactful is the grand jury? Well, there's some debate on this, but what we have found that a well-written report and a well-done investigation that has merit is almost always acted on by the local government agency, whether it's the county or a special district. We got a little pie chart here that shows that most of the things that were recommended were at least addressed by the county. Very few of them were not implemented or addressed at all. My experience of 2 years, anything that is well done, well researched, the county generally is very, very open to take these grand jury reports seriously and implement them at least in some capacity. There's multiple ways that you can support the grand jury, not only just applying before May 3rd if you'd like to be on the grand jury this year, or make sure to read the reports that the grand jury issues. Make sure you're informed on what the grand jury has been looking into and support them in their recommendations. Or even you could send in the complaint yourself to help inform the grand jury on what needs to be investigated and getting involved that way. We've got a great website within the county government website that you can see there on screen, or you can call us directly at the number shown. But feel free to reach out, stay informed, and let us know what you think of the grand jury efforts. Okay, now I'm going to mix it up a little bit, and I'm going to go through some of the reports that have been issued in the last couple of years by the grand jury, so you get a feel of the topics that we addressed and maybe some of the impacts that we had on county operations. I'm going to start by going back from our reports page to 2023, 2024. That was the first year I was the foreperson on the grand jury. The first report was actually one of the most interesting that we did. We looked at some navigational hazards at the Georgetown Airport. Primarily, the trees had grown so tall that they were causing problems. Pilots were even hitting the trees in some cases on takeoff, and it was a real hazard even to the knowledgeable, experienced pilots operating out of the airport. So we forced the county to take the issue a little more seriously. We actually got great news coverage from CBS News out of Sacramento. So let me just take a little break here and we'll cut in that video from CBS News 2 years ago.
Now, the airport in Georgetown is now unsafe to operate at night.
Overgrown trees have the state shutting down the airstrip when it gets dark. And pilots, they're frustrated. CBS 13 Steve Large is live asking why nothing has happened to trim these trees. Steve?
Yeah, live right here at the Georgetown Airport. You can see some of the small planes here on the tarmac. And the safety problems also prompted a grand jury report I'm holding right here. Is titled Georgetown Airport, a disaster waiting to happen. Pretty strong language out of this report. Pilots here want the county to do something now. A small plane danger zone. The Georgetown Airport is such a safety concern, the state is suspending overnight operations.
If someone hits those trees, it's going to be a disaster. It's not a walk away.
Scott Herring showed us the problem in his Cessna plane, taking off, then landing over the trees that have grown so tall, pilots have to change their approach to the runway.
And what we have to do now at Georgetown, we have to go up and over and then down. And when you go down steeper than normal, you're going to pick up some speed.
The headline of this grand jury report is Georgetown Airport, a disaster waiting to happen. You agree with that?
Yes. Very simply put, those trees are a hazard to navigation.
Doug Rice is a vice president of the California Pilots Association. A scathing grand jury report is calling out El Dorado County and its overgrown trees for, quote, failing to protect the safety of its citizens by not properly addressing the airport's hazardous conditions. Now, with the nighttime operations suspended, Herring's airplane business is impacted.
It's kind of like, they close the freeway when you want to go home.
An airport uproar and overgrown trees.
I don't see any forward progress yet on taking those trees down.
Landing El Dorado County into controversy for its risky runway.
Okay, so you can see a couple more reports here that we did that year. We looked at the Placerville and South Lake Tahoe jails again. We also looked at the Growlersburg Conservation Camp. We looked into the El Dorado Hills CSD. We looked at how the transient occupancy tax revenue was being allocated, which was a controversial issue. We looked at some Office of Education hiring issues, especially regarding sexual harassment. We looked at election integrity, which was a controversial topic, and how secure the electronic tabulation machines were, and gave a pretty favorable report with some security recommendations to the elections office. And then going back to last year, 2024, 2025, we did a further deep dive into how the elections department handles the voter rolls, again, which continues to be a bit of a controversial topic, and put them in a pretty favorable light, but it's very informative from that perspective to the public that's interested. We, again, did the jail inspections. We looked at how the Road Maintenance Division prioritizes public requests and how those are handled. We looked at recommending to the county that they replace their director of IT with a chief information officer. We looked at salaries in the 911 central dispatch, as we had a pretty large turnover there in recent years because of salary discrepancy to the neighboring counties and cities. And finally, we looked at the El Dorado Irrigation District finances. They had some very troubling audit reports. And so we did a little deeper dive into what was going on within their finance and accounting, and how they were handling their long-term pension obligations, and how they were making decisions to raise water rates. So you get a sense of the range of topics and issues that we cover, and how impactful we were in the county with these reports. I did an interview earlier this year at the County Chili Kickoff with two former grand jurors. You'll hear from CJ and Debbie on what they got out of their experience being part of the grand jury. So we're here at the 2026 El Dorado County First Responder Chili Cook-Off again, and I'm here with two people representing the grand jury. I'm here with CJ Newstetter and Debbie Jackson. Debbie's the current pro tem for the current sitting grand jury, and CJ was on the grand jury a year ago. 23-24, and she is now the a trainer for the Civil Grand Jurors Association, right?
I am.
And I'm here asking them why somebody wants to join the grand jury, because you know you get that jury summons in the mail for a criminal grand jury, and everybody goes, "Oh, damn!" But why is the civil grand jury different? What do they do, and why do we want people to join? Because right now our application window is open, right?
That's right. Well, you should join the grand jury because, first of all, you meet some really great new people that you would have never otherwise met. And because you get to investigate local government, where you then get to make recommendations about how they can improve. And it's just one of the greatest experiences you'll ever have.
And I think that, aside from that, also there's so much that you can do to help the county improve its processes and hold them accountable. Make sure that they're doing what they should be doing for the citizens of the county. And not that they're not going to, but if nobody's holding their feet to the fire, maybe they won't be paying too much attention. So I think it's a really good way for us to have a voice. And California is the only state in the United States that has a civil grand jury. So we are unique in that way.
And when does the application window close?
May 3rd.
May 3rd, okay. Everybody get your applications in, and we'll see you on next year's grand jury.